The mining drill bit through the ice with a grinding roar that echoed across Titan's frozen surface. Commander Zekther watched from the safety of his command vessel as his crew worked below. They had been drilling for 3 days now, following energy readings that promised rich deposits of rare minerals. The Valthene Empire paid well for such discoveries, and Zekther intended to retire wealthy after this expedition. His communications officer suddenly stood up, all 4 of his arms gesturing in alarm. "Commander, we are receiving a signal from the drilling site." Zekther's scales rippled with annoyance. "What kind of signal?" "Unknown origin. It started the moment our drill penetrated the ice layer at 2,000 meters depth. The frequency is not natural, sir. Someone built something down there." The commander moved to the sensor station, his tail swishing with interest. The display showed a structure beneath the ice, far larger than their scans had initially suggested. It stretched for kilometers in every direction, a vast complex that had been hidden in Titan's frozen crust for centuries. "Is it dangerous?" Zekther asked. The officer checked his instruments. No weapon signatures, no power readings beyond the signal itself. It appears to be an automated beacon of some kind. Zekther considered his options. The Valthene Empire had claimed this entire system 200 years ago when humanity vanished. Everything here belonged to his people now. If this was some kind of human facility, it would be worth a fortune to the right collector. Ancient human technology still fetched incredible prices on the black market. "Send a team down to investigate," he ordered. "Full protective gear. I want to know what is down there." What Zekther did not know was that his drill had just triggered a chain reaction across the entire solar system. On Mars, buried beneath the red sands of Olympus Mons, another facility detected Titan's signal and activated its own systems. On Europa, under kilometers of ice and dark ocean, ancient machines came to life. On Ganymede, Io, and even Earth's own moon, installations that had slept for 3 centuries began their startup sequences. And deep beneath the Rocky Mountains on Earth, in a facility that no alien had ever discovered, a single cryopod started its revival protocol. Colonel Daniel Price had been asleep for 312 years. He did not know this as the warming cycle began. He did not know that his wife Kate was dead, that his daughter Emma had never lived to see her 8th birthday, that the entire human race had been erased from existence by a weapon they never saw coming. All he knew, as consciousness slowly returned, was pain. His lungs burned as they drew their first breath in over 3 centuries. His muscles screamed as they responded to neural commands after decades of forced stillness. His eyes refused to open at first, the lids crusted with the residue of the cryogel that had preserved his body through the long darkness. When his vision finally cleared, Daniel found himself staring at a metal ceiling. Red emergency lights cast everything in a bloody glow. Frost covered every surface, including his own skin. He tried to sit up and nearly fell as his body refused to cooperate properly. "Easy, Colonel." The voice came from everywhere and nowhere, a calm female tone that Daniel recognized immediately. "Your body needs time to adjust. The revival process takes several minutes to complete." "Liberty," Daniel croaked, his voice raw and unfamiliar. "Status report." "I regret to inform you that the situation is critical, Colonel. The Sentinel Protocol has been activated due to extended communications failure with all human outposts, colonies, and military installations. Current date is August 15, 2847. You have been in cryostasis for 312 years, 4 months, and 17 days. The words hit Daniel harder than any physical blow. Over 300 years. He had known the Sentinel Protocol might require decades of sleep, but centuries. That meant something had gone terribly wrong. "Where is everyone?" he asked, though part of him already knew the answer. "Scanning all available databases and communication networks," Liberty replied. "I detect no human life signs anywhere in the solar system. I detect no human communications traffic. I detect no active human installations except for this facility and 6 other Sentinel sites that came online within the past hour." Daniel forced himself to stand, gripping the edge of the cryopod for support. His legs trembled but held. The military cybernetics woven through his nervous system were doing their job, compensating for his weakened state and feeding stimulants directly into his bloodstream. Within minutes, he would be operating at full capacity. Within an hour, he would be stronger and faster than he had been before entering cryosleep. But none of that mattered if humanity was truly gone. "Show me," he said quietly. The wall in front of him flickered to life, becoming a massive display screen. Images appeared, pulled from satellites and sensors across the solar system. Daniel saw Earth from orbit and his heart sank. The planet looked wrong. The cities that should have blazed with light were dark. The orbital stations that should have crowded the space around the planet were gone, replaced by debris and alien vessels he did not recognize. "Who are they?" Daniel pointed at one of the ships, a bulky cargo hauler that was clearly not human design. "Valthine Empire mining vessel," Liberty replied. "They have claimed the solar system as salvage territory. Current records indicate 47 Valthine installations on Earth, 23 on Mars, and 18 throughout the asteroid belt." Daniel felt cold rage building in his chest, claimed his world as salvage. He forced himself to breathe slowly, to think clearly. Getting angry would not help. He needed information. "What happened to us, Liberty? What killed everyone?" The AI was silent for a moment, processing data. "Records are incomplete, but I can piece together the following. In 2535, 3 months after you entered cryostasis, the Kreelan Confederacy deployed a quantum-based bioweapon during the Second Contact War. The weapon was designed to target human DNA specifically. However, something went wrong. Instead of simply killing humans, the weapon created a cascading temporal anomaly. It did not just end human lives, Colonel. It erased them from the timeline entirely." Daniel stared at the screen, unable to fully process what he was hearing. "Erased? What does that mean?" "Everyone who died from the plague ceased to have ever existed," Liberty explained. "Their genetic code was removed from the timeline. Children were never born, families never formed. Only those protected by quantum shielding survived, and even then only in isolated pockets. The Sentinel facilities were designed with such shielding as a precaution. That is why you survived." "How many others?" Daniel asked. "How many other Sentinels are out there?" "Unknown. 7 facilities have activated, including this one. However, I cannot confirm if there are viable personnel in any of them. You may be the only one, Colonel." Daniel closed his eyes. The only one. The last human being in the entire solar system, possibly in the entire galaxy. Everyone he had ever known, everyone he had ever loved, simply gone. Not just dead, but erased, as if they had never existed at all. He thought of Kate, of her smile and her laugh. He thought of Emma, who had been so excited when he told her he had been selected for an important mission. He had promised her he would come back. He had promised Kate he would keep their family safe. "Colonel, I am detecting elevated stress hormones," Liberty said gently. "Would you like me to administer a sedative?" "No," Daniel said, opening his eyes. The rage was still there, burning cold and steady, but now it had purpose. "I need to get to the surface. I need to see what they have done to my world." He moved through the facility on unsteady legs that grew stronger with each step. The Sentinel installation was enormous, stretching for kilometers underground. It had been designed to support a team of 50 specialists for up to 100 years if necessary. Now it was just Daniel and an AI, walking through empty corridors that echoed with his footsteps. The armory made him smile for the first time. Whatever else had failed, the weapons had survived. Rows of pulse rifles, plasma cannons, and kinetic accelerators lined the walls, each one a masterpiece of human engineering. Daniel selected a basic assault rifle and a sidearm, both modified with his personal biometrics. The weapons hummed to life at his touch, recognizing their authorized user. He also grabbed a tactical suit, a flexible armor weave that could stop most small arms fire and regulate his body temperature in any environment. As he sealed it around his body, he felt more like himself. This was familiar. This was what he had been trained for. "Liberty, what is the current threat level on the surface?" "Minimal immediate danger," the AI replied. "However, I am detecting several Valthine patrols within a 50-kilometer radius of this facility. They appear to be searching for the source of the activation signal." "Let them search," Daniel said. "I want to see what they have done to Colorado." The elevator ride to the surface took 15 minutes. Daniel used the time to review tactical data on the Valthine. Liberty provided detailed information on their technology, their military capabilities, and their weaknesses. The Valthine were strong and numerous, but they were not particularly advanced. Their weapons technology was roughly equivalent to what humanity had possessed 400 years ago. That gave Daniel an advantage. Every weapon he carried, every system in his body, was cutting-edge human military technology. He was not just a soldier. He was a living weapon system, designed to fight enemies far more advanced than these scavengers. The elevator doors opened onto a mountainside that Daniel did not recognize. Trees grew where buildings should have stood. A river flowed through what had once been a military installation. 3 centuries of abandonment had allowed nature to reclaim everything. But in the distance, Daniel could see the scars. Great gouges in the earth where mining operations had torn into the ground. The skeletal remains of buildings, picked clean of anything valuable. And in the sky, the contrails of alien vessels, flying openly over what had once been restricted airspace. Daniel stepped out into the sunlight and took a deep breath. The air smelled clean, cleaner than he remembered. Without humanity's factories and vehicles, Earth had healed itself. It was beautiful in a way that made his heart ache. Then he heard the sound of engines approaching. 3 Valthine patrol craft approaching from the northeast, Liberty warned through his tactical earpiece. "They are scanning the area. They have likely detected your emergence." Daniel did not run. He did not hide. Instead, he walked to the center of the clearing and waited. The ships appeared moments later, sleek atmospheric craft that banked in formation before landing 50 meters away. Ramps extended, and a dozen Valthine soldiers emerged, their weapons raised. They were impressive-looking creatures, Daniel had to admit. Reptilian, standing over 2 meters tall, covered in scales that shimmered green and gold in the sunlight. Each one carried a plasma rifle and wore armor that looked functional if not particularly sophisticated. The leader, identified by more elaborate armor, stepped forward. He spoke in a language Daniel did not recognize, but his tactical suit translated automatically. "Human, you are in violation of Valthine territorial claims. Surrender immediately and you will be processed according to salvage protocols." Daniel smiled. It was not a pleasant expression. "This is Earth," he said calmly. "Humanity's homeworld. You are the ones who are trespassing." The Valthine leader laughed, a hissing sound that his companions echoed. "Humanity is extinct. This world belongs to the Valthine Empire now. You are either an illegal clone or a criminal who has avoided proper documentation. Either way, you will come with us." "No," Daniel said simply. The leader raised his weapon. "That was not a request, human." What happened next took exactly 87 seconds. Daniel would know because Liberty timed it and told him later. The Valthine fired first. Plasma bolts erupted from a dozen rifles, converging on Daniel's position. But Daniel was already moving, his enhanced reflexes allowing him to process the world in slow motion. He dove left, rolling behind a boulder as superheated plasma scorched the ground where he had been standing. His assault rifle came up smooth and fast. The first burst caught 2 Valthine in the chest, punching through their armor like it was paper. The second burst took down 3 more before they could adjust their aim. The remaining soldiers scattered, seeking cover, but Daniel was already flanking them. He moved like a ghost through the forest, his tactical suit bending light around him to create active camouflage. The Valthine shouted to each other in confusion, trying to locate their target. One of them died without ever knowing Daniel was behind him. Another managed to turn and fire, but his shots went wide as Daniel's return fire did not. The leader proved more capable than his troops. He managed to get off several shots that actually came close to hitting Daniel, but close was not good enough. Daniel's final shot caught the Valthine commander in the throat, dropping him instantly. Silence fell over the clearing. 12 Valthine soldiers lay dead or dying. Daniel stood among them, his breathing barely elevated, his weapon still raised and ready. Then he saw it. The leader was not quite dead. He had managed to activate his communicator with his last strength. Blood bubbled from his throat as he gasped out a final message. "The human is not dead. Repeat, the human is not dead." Then he was gone. Daniel stood over the body, looking down at the alien who had claimed his world as salvage. He felt nothing. No satisfaction, no remorse. Just a cold certainty that this was only the beginning. "Liberty, they sent a message," he said. "How long before reinforcements arrive?" "Unknown, Colonel. However, I estimate we have between 4 and 6 hours before a significant response force can reach this location." "Good," Daniel said. "That gives us time to get to work. I want a full inventory of every defensive installation in the solar system. I want to know what still works and what needs repair. And I want to know where the other Sentinel facilities are located." "Understood, Colonel. Initiating system-wide diagnostic now." Daniel made his way back to the facility entrance, stepping over alien bodies without a second glance. He had been asleep for over 300 years. He had lost everything that mattered to him. But he was still a sentinel, still humanity's guardian, and he had a job to do. Over the next several hours, Liberty painted a picture of humanity's legacy that was both heartbreaking and inspiring. The defensive network humanity had built was staggering in its scope. Thousands of weapons satellites in various orbits around Earth and the other planets. Automated defense platforms hidden in asteroid fields. Mobile fortress stations that could move between planets. And the crown jewel, a massive military installation on the dark side of the moon called Olympus Base. Most of it was still functional. The systems had entered standby mode when they detected no human presence, conserving power for centuries. But they could be reactivated. They could be brought back online. And once they were, the solar system would be a very dangerous place for anyone who did not belong here. Daniel reviewed the data on the other Sentinel facilities. 7 had activated just as Liberty had said. Mars had 2 installations, one in the Valles Marineris and another near Olympus Mons. Europa had one beneath its ice shell. Ganymede had one. Titan had one, though that was the site where the aliens had accidentally triggered the awakening. And there were 2 more on Earth, one in Antarctica and another in the Pacific Ocean. "Have you attempted to contact the other facilities?" Daniel asked. "Yes, Colonel. I have been broadcasting on all Sentinel frequencies since your revival. So far, I have received automated responses from all 6 locations, but no human acknowledgement. The facilities are active, but I cannot confirm if anyone is alive inside them." Daniel felt that cold weight settle in his chest again. He might truly be alone, but he could not afford to assume that. He had to check each facility personally. He had to know for certain. "What about the defensive network? Can we activate it from here?" "Negative, Colonel. Full activation requires authorization from Olympus Base. However, I can activate local defenses around Earth and prepare the system for a full startup sequence." "Do it," Daniel ordered, "and start plotting a course to Olympus. If I am going to defend this system, I need to be at the command center. Colonel, I must warn you that activating the defenses will alert every alien presence in the solar system. They will know something has changed." Daniel smiled that cold smile again. "Good, let them know. Let them understand that Earth is not abandoned, that humanity's guardian is awake, and that they have overstayed their welcome." The activation began immediately. All across Earth's orbit, weapon satellites that had drifted as dead metal for 300 years suddenly came to life. Their targeting systems initialized. Their power cores spun up. Their weapons arrays swung into active position. Within the asteroid belt, platforms that had appeared to be nothing more than rocks suddenly revealed their true nature as the camouflage fields dropped. On Mars, the 2 Sentinel facilities registered the activation and added their own local defenses to the network. Europa and Ganymede followed suit. Titan's facility, still being investigated by confused Valthine scientists, suddenly sealed itself and activated defense turrets that had been hidden in the ice. And throughout the solar system, alien mining operations and salvage teams suddenly found themselves looking at weapons that had appeared out of nowhere. The Valthine Empire's command center on Earth, established in what had once been New York City, erupted into chaos. Alarms blared as sensors detected thousands of new contacts appearing simultaneously. The base commander, a grizzled veteran named Sekmer, stared at his tactical display in disbelief. "What is happening?" he demanded. Where did all these ships come from? His sensor officer worked frantically at his console. They are not ships, Commander. They are satellites, defense platforms, weapon stations. They have been here the entire time, hiding in plain sight, and they are all coming online at once. Sekmer felt his blood run cold. Are they targeting us? Not yet, sir. They are simply activating, but their weapons are armed and their targeting systems are active. The commander knew what this meant. Everyone in the Valthine Empire knew the stories about humanity, about the wars they had fought before their extinction. Humanity had been fierce, relentless, and terrifyingly effective at killing. Their defensive networks had been legendary, capable of holding off fleets many times their size, and now those defenses were waking up. Get me a direct line to the homeworld, Sekmer ordered. The Empire needs to know about this immediately. But before the communication could be established, every screen in the command center suddenly went dark. Then they all lit up at once, showing the same image. A human male, middle-aged by their standards, wearing military armor and standing in what appeared to be an ancient facility. His eyes were hard, cold, and absolutely focused. When he spoke, his words were translated into every language used in the solar system, broadcast on every frequency, reaching every alien ship, station, and outpost from the sun to the outer planets. I am Colonel Daniel Price, Sentinel of Earth and commander of the Sol Defense Network. This system belongs to humanity. You have claimed it as salvage, operated here without authorization, and treated our homeworld as your personal mining operation. That ends now. Paused, letting his words sink in. On hundreds of alien vessels, crews stopped what they were doing to listen. You have 12 hours to cease all operations and begin evacuation procedures. Any ship that remains in this system after that deadline will be considered hostile and dealt with accordingly. Any installation that refuses to power down will be targeted for destruction. This is your only warning. Another pause. Then Daniel's expression hardened further. Some of you may think I am bluffing. Some of you may think that one human cannot possibly defend an entire star system. You are welcome to test that theory, but I should warn you, I was not chosen for the Sentinel Protocol because I am merciful. I was chosen because I am very, very good at my job, and my job is to protect humanity's interests by any means necessary. The screen went dark. In the Valthine Command Center, Sekmer stood frozen. 12 hours. The human had given them 12 hours to abandon operations they had spent 200 years establishing. Mines that had cost fortunes to develop, installations that represented decades of work, all of it gone because one human said so. It was absurd. It was impossible. It was one human against the combined might of 3 galactic empires. But as Sekmer looked at his tactical display, at the thousands of weapon systems now active and tracking every alien vessel in the system, he felt doubt creep into his mind. Humanity had built all of this. They had created a defensive network so sophisticated that it had remained hidden for 3 centuries, and now it was active, controlled by a single soldier who had just killed an entire patrol without breaking a sweat. "Sir, what are your orders?" his second-in-command asked quietly. Sekmer considered his options. He could ignore the threat, continue operations, and see if the human was really capable of following through. Or he could do something he had never done in 40 years of military service. He could retreat. "Begin evacuation procedures," he said finally. "All non-essential personnel are to leave the system immediately. Combat units will remain on standby, but they are not to engage unless fired upon first. Sir, the Empire will demand an explanation." "Then I will give them one," Sekmer said. "I will tell them that I do not send my soldiers to die for mining rights. Not when we are facing an unknown threat with unknown capabilities." Across the solar system, other alien commanders were making similar calculations. Some chose to evacuate immediately. Others decided to wait and see. And a few, driven by pride or greed or simple foolishness, decided to ignore the warning entirely. On Titan, the Valthine mining expedition that had accidentally started all of this prepared to make a stand. Commander Zekther, angry at having his profitable operation interrupted, ordered his security forces to fortify their positions. He had 200 soldiers, armed with modern weapons, protected by shields and armor. One human could not possibly threaten that. He was about to learn just how wrong he was. Daniel watched the alien responses from Olympus base. He had made the journey from Earth in a stealth shuttle that Liberty had guided remotely. The lunar facility was even more impressive than he had imagined, a vast underground complex that could house 10,000 personnel and coordinate defensive operations across multiple star systems. Now it was just him and the AI, but that was enough. Compile a list of all installations that have not begun evacuation procedures, he ordered. Prioritize them by threat level. Completed, Colonel. 23 installations are refusing to comply. The largest concentration is the Valthine mining operation on Titan. They have 200 soldiers and appear to be preparing for combat. Daniel studied the tactical data. Titan was a problem. The facility there was one of the Sentinel sites, and he could not afford to let it fall into alien hands. Plus, they had triggered the Awakening. In a way, they were responsible for all of this. Prepare the wardens, he said quietly. Liberty hesitated, a rare occurrence for an AI. Colonel, the wardens have not been activated in over 300 years. I cannot guarantee they will function properly. Then we will find out, Daniel said. Target the Titan installation. I want those aliens off that moon. Deep in Olympus base's launch bays, 12 enormous shapes began to stir. The wardens were humanity's answer to capital ship warfare, autonomous dreadnoughts each the size of a small city. They had been built to fight wars against enemies with superior technology, designed to operate independently for years if necessary. They carried enough firepower to level a continent and enough shielding to survive a nuclear blast, and they had been asleep for over 3 centuries, waiting for the day humanity might need them again. One by one, the wardens came online. Their ancient systems ran diagnostic checks, finding everything in perfect working order. Maintenance drones had kept them functional through the long sleep, repairing damage and replacing worn components. They were not relics, they were still deadly. All wardens report ready status, Liberty announced. Awaiting your orders, Colonel. Daniel looked at the tactical display showing Titan and the alien forces arrayed there. He thought about the message the dying Valthine had sent. The human is not dead. It was time to show the galaxy exactly what that meant. Launch Warden 1 through Warden 3. Titan is their target. Rules of engagement: disable or destroy any vessel that does not immediately surrender. If they want a demonstration of humanity's military capability, we will give them one they will never forget. Acknowledged, Colonel. Launching now. 3 of the massive dreadnoughts lifted off from the lunar surface, their drives casting shadows across the crater fields below. They accelerated smoothly, building speed as they headed toward the outer solar system. Behind them, the remaining 9 wardens waited in patient silence, ready to launch at a moment's notice. On Titan, Commander Zecthar received word that something large was approaching. Very large. His sensors were having difficulty getting accurate readings, but whatever was coming was bigger than anything in the Valthine fleet. Prepare all weapons, he ordered, and get me a visual. The image that appeared on his screen made his heart skip a beat. 3 massive vessels, each one dwarfing his entire mining operation, were approaching Titan in perfect formation. They were not sleek or beautiful like modern ships. They were brutal, functional, covered in armor plating and weapon ports. They looked like what they were, warships designed for one purpose only: to kill. This is Warden 1 to Valthine forces on Titan, a synthetic voice broadcast across all frequencies. You have been given an opportunity to evacuate. You chose to ignore it. You now have 60 seconds to power down all weapons and prepare for immediate departure. Failure to comply will result in the destruction of your entire installation. This is your final warning. Zecthar stared at the approaching dreadnoughts, his mind racing. Pride warred with common sense. He had 200 soldiers. These were 3 warships that each outmassed his entire force by a factor of 100. It was not a difficult choice. Power down all weapons, he said quietly. Begin evacuation immediately. His second-in-command looked at him in shock. Sir, we cannot just surrender. We are not surrendering, Zecthar said. We are surviving. There is a difference. Now move. The Valthine mining operation on Titan went dark within minutes. Ships lifted off in a chaotic stream, heading for the outer system as fast as their engines could carry them. The wardens watched but did not fire, allowing the evacuation to proceed. Within an hour, Titan was empty of alien presence. The Sentinel facility there was secure, and across the solar system, every alien installation received the same message. The human was not bluffing. The evacuation began in earnest. The Galactic news networks exploded with the story within hours. Video footage of the 3 wardens approaching Titan spread across 1,000 worlds. Images of the evacuating Valthine forces played on repeat. And everywhere the same question echoed. How was one human doing this? In the Grand Council chambers of the Valthine Empire, Emperor Kreshter slammed his clawed hand on the table. Around him sat his military advisors, all of whom looked uncomfortable. They had just watched the footage from Titan, and none of them had good answers. "One human," the Emperor hissed. "One single human has forced us to abandon operations worth trillions of credits. Someone explain to me how this is possible." Fleet Admiral Drekvan cleared his throat. "Your Majesty, the human defensive network is far more extensive than we realized. Our initial surveys of the Sol system 200 years ago missed most of it. The satellites and platforms were using stealth technology that our sensors could not penetrate. They have been there the entire time, waiting. And the ships, those enormous warships that appeared from nowhere, they were hidden on the dark side of Earth's moon, Your Majesty, a facility we never knew existed. The human called it Olympus Base. According to our intelligence, it is a military command center capable of coordinating defensive operations across multiple star systems." The Emperor leaned back in his throne, thinking, "What do we know about this human, this Colonel Price?" An intelligence officer stepped forward, a data pad in his hands. "Very little, Your Majesty. Records from the human era are incomplete. However, we have found references to something called the Sentinel Protocol in archived databases. It appears to have been a contingency program designed to protect human interests if their civilization fell. The Sentinels were elite soldiers, enhanced with advanced cybernetics and given access to humanity's most powerful weapons. How many Sentinels were there? Unknown, Your Majesty. But Colonel Price claims to be one of them, and he has demonstrated capabilities far beyond normal human parameters. The patrol he eliminated on Earth never had a chance. He moved faster than they could track, and his weapons cut through military-grade armor like it was nothing." Emperor Kreshter considered this information carefully. The Valthine Empire had fought many wars and conquered many worlds. They were not cowards, but they were also not fools. One human with access to an entire star system's worth of automated defenses was a threat that needed careful handling. What about the other powers? What are the Krelin and the Draviks doing? The Krelin Confederacy has recalled all of their vessels from the Sol system, the intelligence officer reported. They are taking the humans' threat seriously. The Draviks Collective is doing the same, though they are protesting loudly about it. Protesting to whom? To anyone who will listen, Your Majesty. They are claiming that one human cannot be allowed to control an entire star system. They are calling for a coalition response. The Emperor nodded slowly. And they are correct. We cannot allow this precedent to stand. If one human can reclaim his territory simply by activating old weapons, what message does that send? Every extinct species with hidden technology becomes a potential threat. What are your orders, Your Majesty? Contact the Krelin and the Draviks. Propose an emergency summit. We will discuss a joint response to this situation. In the meantime, all Valthine forces are to withdraw from the Sol system as the human demanded, but they are not to go far. We will give him his 12 hours, and then we will see how well his ancient defenses work against a combined fleet. Back in the Sol system, Daniel monitored the evacuation from Olympus Base. Ship after ship left Earth's orbit, heading for the outer system and beyond. Some went peacefully. Others took their time, clearly testing to see if he would really follow through on his threats. Those received warning shots from nearby defense platforms and quickly decided that compliance was the better option. Liberty tracked every vessel, cataloging their capabilities and destinations. "Colonel, the evacuation is proceeding ahead of schedule. At current rates, the system will be clear of all non-human presence in approximately 8 hours. "Good," Daniel said, though he did not relax. What about military vessels? Any signs of fleet movements? Yes, Colonel. Long-range sensors are detecting significant activity at the edge of the system. Multiple battle groups are assembling, combining forces from all three major powers. Estimated strength: 200 capital ships, 500 cruisers, and over 1,000 support vessels. Daniel felt his jaw tighten. He had expected this. The aliens would not simply accept his demands without testing him first. They would gather their forces, make a show of strength, and then try to retake the system. It was basic military strategy. Time until they are in position to attack. Approximately 36 hours, Colonel. They are being cautious, making sure all their forces are coordinated before they move. That gives us time to prepare, Daniel said. What is the status of the defense network? All primary systems are operational. Weapon satellites are at full power. Defense platforms have completed their diagnostic cycles. The wardens are ready for deployment. However, I must advise you that we are facing overwhelming numerical superiority. Even with our technological advantages, the odds are not favorable. Daniel smiled grimly. Liberty, I have spent my entire career fighting battles where the odds were not favorable. That is what Sentinels do. Now, show me what we have to work with. The tactical display expanded, showing the entire solar system in three-dimensional detail. Every weapon platform, every satellite, every automated defense system appeared as a glowing point of light. There were thousands of them, spread throughout the system in patterns that looked random but were actually carefully calculated defensive positions. Daniel studied the layout, his enhanced mind processing tactical data at incredible speed. The aliens would come in force, probably trying to overwhelm specific points in the defensive network. They would focus their fire on the weapon platforms, trying to clear lanes through which their invasion force could pass. But Daniel had advantages they did not know about. The defense network was not static. Every satellite, every platform, every weapon system could move, repositioning themselves to meet threats. They could coordinate their fire with precision no organic crew could match. And they could operate without rest, without fear, without hesitation. Liberty, I want you to run a simulation. Assume the enemy fleet enters the system in standard battle formation. Calculate the most likely attack vectors and prepare countermeasures. Running simulation now, Colonel. Daniel watched as the display showed dozens of possible scenarios. In each one, the alien fleet entered the system, advanced toward Earth, and engaged the defensive network. In some simulations, they won. In others, they were pushed back. The outcomes varied wildly depending on tactics and luck, but there was one constant in every simulation. No matter what happened, the fighting would be brutal. Ships would be destroyed by the hundreds. Soldiers would die by the thousands. And at the end of it, one side would control the Sol system, while the other would be forced to retreat or be annihilated. Daniel did not want that. Despite everything that had happened, despite his anger at finding his world occupied by scavengers, he did not want to kill thousands of beings who were just following orders. Most of them had not been alive when humanity vanished. They had no personal stake in this conflict. They were just soldiers doing their jobs. But he also could not back down. If he showed weakness now, if he let them retake even one installation, they would never leave. They would keep coming back, keep testing him, until eventually they found a way through his defenses. The only way to protect Earth was to make them believe that the cost of attacking was too high. He needed to send a message, something that would demonstrate his capabilities without requiring a full-scale battle, something that would make them think twice about continuing this conflict. Liberty, are any of the other Sentinel facilities occupied? Negative, Colonel. All facilities report empty. However, I am still receiving automated responses from them. Someone programmed them to continue operating even without human presence. Can you access their logs? I want to know if anyone else woke up before me. There was a pause as Liberty processed the request. Accessing now, Colonel. This may take several minutes. The facilities are using encrypted protocols, and I need to verify authentication codes. While he waited, Daniel walked through Olympus Base. The facility was enormous, large enough that he could walk for an hour and still not see everything. Command centers, barracks, medical bays, training facilities, all of it perfectly preserved and ready for use. It was a ghost ship on a massive scale, built for an army that no longer existed. He found himself in what appeared to be a memorial hall. The walls were covered with names, thousands upon thousands of them, etched into black stone. These were the people who had died in the First Contact War, humanity's initial conflict with alien species. Daniel recognized some of the names, people he had served with, friends who had not made it home. And there, near the bottom of one wall, he found what he was looking for: Kate Price, Emma Price, his wife and daughter killed by the quantum plague, their names preserved here, in this place built to remember humanity's fallen. Daniel reached out and touched Kate's name, his fingers tracing the letters. "I am sorry," he whispered. "I am sorry I was not there. I am sorry I could not protect you." "Colonel," Liberty's voice interrupted gently, "I have completed my analysis of the Sentinel facility logs." Daniel pulled his hand back, straightening his shoulders. Personal feelings could wait. He had work to do. "What did you find?" "Facility 7, located in Valles Marineris on Mars, shows evidence of human activity. Someone was revived there approximately 50 years ago. The logs indicate she spent considerable time using the facility's resources before the power failed." "She? Who was it?" "Captain Lisa Monroe, Sentinel designation Sierra 7. She was a combat pilot and special operations commander. According to the logs, she awakened, found the system empty, and spent the next 40 years searching for survivors." Daniel felt something stir in his chest. Another human. Another Sentinel who had woken up before him, who had faced the same terrible realization that humanity was gone. "Did she find anyone?" "Unknown, Colonel. Her final log entry was recorded 10 years ago, shortly before the facility's main power core failed. However, before the power failed, she used the facility's long-range communication array to send a message to deep space. The target was a colony ship called the Horizon's Dream." Daniel's breath caught. "A colony ship? From when?" "The ship launched in 2534, 1 year before the quantum plague. It was a sublight vessel carrying 50,000 colonists to a planet 40 light-years from Earth. At sublight speeds, they would not arrive for another 200 years. But more importantly, they would have been outside the range of the quantum weapon. They would have survived." Hope, real and painful, surged through Daniel. 50,000 humans. An entire colony that had escaped the plague simply by leaving before it struck. They were out there, somewhere in deep space, completely unaware that their homeworld had been emptied and then occupied by aliens. "What was in Monroe's message?" Liberty played the recording. A woman's voice, tired but determined, filled the command center. "This is Captain Lisa Monroe, Sentinel Sierra 7, to the crew and colonists of the Horizon's Dream. I am sorry to be the bearer of terrible news. Earth has fallen. Humanity has been almost entirely destroyed by a quantum-based weapon deployed during the Second Contact War. I do not know how many survivors exist, but I believe the number is very small." There was a pause, and Daniel could hear the emotion in her voice when she continued. "I am sending this message with coordinates for Earth and all known human facilities. If you receive this, please turn around. Come home. Earth needs you. Humanity needs you. I have kept the automated defenses running for as long as I can, but I am one person and the power is failing. If you do not come back, there may be nothing left to come back to." Another pause. "I am uploading everything I know about the current state of the galaxy. The aliens who occupy our worlds are not evil, just opportunistic. They saw empty territory and claimed it. If you return, you will need to be prepared to take it back. The defenses I am leaving active will help, but they cannot hold forever without someone to command them." The recording grew quiet, and when Monroe spoke again, her voice was barely a whisper. "I hope someone hears this. I hope someone comes home. I have spent 40 years alone, and I am so very tired. If another Sentinel wakes up after me, this message is for you too. I have done everything I can. The watch is yours now. Do not let our species fade into legend. We were more than warriors, remember that." The recording ended. Daniel stood in silence, processing everything he had just heard. Lisa Monroe had been awake for 40 years, completely alone, and she had spent that time trying to save a species that might already be extinct. She had sent a message to the colony ship, hoping they would return. And then her power had failed, and she had either died or gone into cryo-sleep to conserve resources. Liberty, can you calculate when the Horizon's Dream would receive Monroe's message? Calculating now, Colonel. Based on the ship's projected trajectory and the speed of the communication beam, the message would have reached them approximately 15 years ago. And if they turned around immediately, they would arrive in the Sol system in approximately 10 to 15 years, depending on whether they have made any improvements to their engines during the journey. 10 to 15 years. Daniel could hold the system for that long. He could keep the defenses running, keep the aliens at bay, and wait for his people to come home, but only if he survived the next few days. Liberty, I need to visit Facility 7. I need to see what Monroe left behind. Colonel, that would require traveling to Mars. The journey would take several hours, and we are expecting an enemy fleet in less than 36 hours. Then I need to move fast, Daniel said. Prepare a transport. I am leaving immediately. The journey to Mars took 4 hours in a high-speed shuttle. Daniel spent the time reviewing everything Liberty had compiled on Captain Lisa Monroe. She had been remarkable, a decorated combat pilot who had earned her Sentinel designation through extraordinary service during the First Contact War. She had been 35 years old when she entered cryo-sleep, with a husband and 2 sons waiting for her to wake up. Like Daniel, she had woken to find everyone she loved simply gone. The Vols Marineris facility was smaller than Olympus Base, but still impressive. It was built into the canyon wall, hidden behind layers of rock and defensive shields. Daniel's shuttle landed in a bay that had not been used in decades, dust rising around the craft as it touched down. Inside, the facility was dark and cold. Emergency lighting provided just enough illumination to navigate. Daniel made his way through empty corridors, his footsteps echoing in the silence. The facility's AI had shut down when the power failed, leaving everything in standby mode. He found Monroe's command center, a smaller version of the one at Olympus. Screens covered the walls, all of them dark. A single chair sat in the center, facing the displays, and on that chair, covered in a thin layer of dust, was a hand-written note. Daniel picked it up carefully. The paper was old and fragile, but the words were still clear. To whoever finds this, I have done everything I can. The defenses are set to automatic. The message has been sent. If the colony ship returns, they will find a home worth fighting for. If another sentinel wakes, they will find the tools they need to protect it. My power is failing, and I cannot maintain this facility any longer. I am going into cryo-sleep in Pod 7, Bay 3. If you can revive me, please do. If not, remember that I tried. Captain Lisa Monroe, Sentinel Sierra 7. Daniel read the note 3 times, feeling a connection to this woman he had never met. She had fought alone for 40 years, and she had not given up. She had prepared everything she could, left messages and instructions, and then trusted that someone would continue her work. Liberty, can you locate Pod 7, Bay 3? Yes, Colonel. Directing you now. The cryo bay was 3 levels down. Daniel found it easily, following Liberty's directions through the dark facility. The room contained 20 cryopods, all of them offline except for one. Pod 7 still had minimal power, drawing from an emergency backup that had kept it running for the past decade. Through the frost-covered glass, Daniel could see a woman's face. Lisa Monroe, frozen in time, waiting for someone to wake her up. Liberty, can we revive her? Not here, Colonel. This facility does not have enough power for a full revival sequence. However, if we transport the pod to Olympus Base, we should be able to safely wake her. Do it, Daniel ordered. Get a crew of maintenance drones here immediately. I want that pod on my shuttle within the hour. While the drones worked, Daniel explored the rest of Monroe's facility. He found her personal quarters, simple and sparse. A few photos on the wall showed her with her family, smiling and happy in a time before the plague. He found her logs, detailed records of everything she had done during her 40 years of wakefulness. And he found her tactical plans, careful analyses of how to defend the solar system with limited resources. She had been brilliant. Every decision she had made, every system she had activated, had been calculated to maximize efficiency while conserving power. She had turned the Sol system into a trap, and then she had sent a message to bring humanity home. Daniel felt a profound respect for this woman. She had done what he was trying to do now, and she had done it for 40 years without anyone to help her, without any hope of relief. She had been the guardian before he woke, and she deserved better than to die alone in a failing facility. "Colonel, the pod has been secured in the shuttle," Liberty reported. "We are ready to return to Olympus." "Good. Let us go home." The return journey felt different. Daniel was not alone anymore. Captain Monroe was with him, frozen but alive, waiting to be revived. And somewhere out there, 50,000 humans were traveling home, unaware that their guardian had changed, but their mission remained the same. When they reached Olympus base, Daniel immediately set up the revival procedure in the medical bay. Liberty guided the process, carefully monitoring Monroe's vital signs as the thawing sequence began. It would take hours, the AI explained. The emergency cryopod had used an older protocol, and rushing the revival could cause brain damage, so Daniel waited. He returned to the command center and checked on the alien fleet. They were still gathering, still organizing their forces. He had time. Liberty interrupted his thoughts. "Colonel, I am detecting a communication request. It is coming from the alien fleet on a standard diplomatic frequency." Daniel considered ignoring it. He had said everything he needed to say in his initial broadcast, but curiosity got the better of him. "Put it through." The screen lit up, showing a Valthine commander in elaborate armor. This was not a field officer like the ones Daniel had killed on Earth. This was someone important, someone with authority. "I am Fleet Admiral Drekvan of the Valthine Empire," the alien said. "I speak for the combined forces of the Valthine, Krelin, and Dravix powers. We wish to negotiate." Daniel kept his expression neutral. "You have nothing I want. Perhaps, but we have something you need. Information about your colony ship." That got Daniel's attention. "Explain." "The vessel you call the Horizon's Dream is currently 25 light-years from Earth, traveling at sub-light speeds. We have known about it for decades. We have monitoring stations along its projected route. If you cooperate with us, we can ensure the ship reaches its destination safely. If you do not, we cannot guarantee its safety." Daniel felt cold rage building in his chest. They were threatening civilians, threatening the last remnants of humanity. "You would attack an unarmed colony ship." "We would prefer not to," Drekvan said carefully. "But we cannot allow the Sol system to remain under human control. It sets a dangerous precedent. If you withdraw your claims and allow us to resume our operations, we will guide the colony ship to a suitable planet far from our territories. They can build a new life there, and you can go with them. Everyone wins, except that I lose my homeworld, and humanity loses Earth." "Earth is just a planet, Colonel. Your species can thrive elsewhere." Daniel leaned forward, his eyes hard. "Earth is not just a planet, Admiral. It is our birthplace, our home. Every culture, every language, every piece of art and music and literature that humanity ever created came from that world. And you want me to hand it over so you can strip mine it for profit?" "I want to avoid unnecessary bloodshed," Drekvan replied. "You are one human, Colonel Price. One very capable human, I grant you. But you cannot hold an entire star system against the combined might of 3 galactic powers. We will overwhelm your defenses eventually. Many will die on both sides. Is that really what you want?" Daniel was quiet for a long moment. Then he smiled, that cold, terrible smile that had frightened the Valthine patrol before he killed them. "Admiral, let me tell you what I want. I want you and your fleet to turn around and leave my system. I want every alien installation dismantled. I want every piece of stolen equipment returned. And I want a formal apology from all 3 powers for the illegal occupation of human territory." Drekvan stared at him in disbelief. "That is not going to happen." "Then we have nothing to discuss," Daniel said. "You have 24 hours remaining on my original deadline. After that, any ship that remains in this system will be destroyed. And if you make any move toward the Horizon's Dream, I will personally hunt down every member of your command staff and show you what a sentinel does to people who threaten civilians." He cut the communication before the Admiral could respond. Liberty's voice was cautious when she spoke. "Colonel, that was a very aggressive stance." "Good," Daniel said. "I want them scared. Fear will make them cautious, and caution will buy us time." "Time for what, Colonel?" Daniel smiled. Time for Captain Monroe to wake up. Time for me to fully activate the defense network. And time for those admirals to realize that they are not dealing with a desperate survivor. They are dealing with humanity's last line of defense. And that line does not break. In the medical bay, alarms suddenly began to sound. Liberty's voice took on an urgent tone. "Colonel, Captain Monroe is waking up. The revival process has accelerated. Her vital signs are improving rapidly." Daniel ran to the medical bay, arriving just as the cryopod's lid opened with a hiss of releasing pressure. Inside, Lisa Monroe's eyes opened. She gasped, her lungs drawing their first breath in a decade, her body shaking as it adjusted to consciousness. Daniel was at her side immediately. "Easy, Captain, you are safe. The revival process takes time. Do not try to move too quickly." Monroe's eyes found his, confusion and fear visible in them. Then her training took over. She forced herself to be calm, to breathe slowly, to let her body adjust. When she finally spoke, her voice was rough but clear. "Who are you?" "Colonel Daniel Price, Sentinel designation Delta 7. I woke up 3 days ago and found your facility on Mars. You have been asleep for 10 years, Captain. But everything you did, all the work you put in, it was not in vain. I am here now, and we are going to bring humanity home." Tears formed in Monroe's eyes, not from pain but from relief. "The colony ship, did they get my message?" "We do not know yet," Daniel admitted. "But they are out there and they are coming home. We just have to hold the system until they arrive." Monroe tried to sit up and Daniel helped her. She looked around the medical bay, recognizing the design. "This is Olympus Base. How did you get my pod here? I flew to Mars and brought you back. You left a note saying where to find you." "And the aliens, are they gone?" "Not yet, but they will be. I have given them an ultimatum. They evacuate or I start destroying their ships. They have 20 hours left to comply." Monroe laughed, a weak but genuine sound. "You really think they will leave peacefully?" "No," Daniel admitted. "I think they will attack. They are gathering a fleet right now, probably the largest force they can assemble. And when they come, we are going to show them why humanity earned its reputation during the contact wars." "Just the two of us." "Just the two of us," Daniel confirmed. "And Liberty, the AI running this facility, and every weapon platform, satellite, and automated defense system humanity ever built. We might be outnumbered, Captain, but we are far from defenseless." Monroe's smile grew stronger. "Then I guess we should get to work, Colonel. I have been asleep long enough. Time to earn my keep." Daniel helped her stand, supporting her until her legs were steady. Together, they walked to the command center, 2 sentinels standing alone against a galaxy that had forgotten what humanity was capable of. But they were about to receive a very thorough reminder. The war for Earth was about to begin.